I'm Melissa.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome back to Tuesday.
Tuesday. I am currently, today, as of the day of the release of this, I am in Pensacola, Florida.
Love
I
that for
am
you.
not in Orlando. Say it again?
I said love that for you.
Eh, you know, it's a business trip, so it is what it is.
Have you ever been to Pensacola before?
I have not, no. No, and from here, it was interesting because it's about a 6-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
But eh, if I took a flight, I'd have to, well, most of the flights were going through other places. So it would have been like 4-hour flight to go from here to Pensacola. So, but luckily I found a flight on Spirit that goes from Orlando to Pensacola that's only like an hour and 40 minutes. So got that one.
That still sounds kind of long for just going to the top of
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a 6-hour, remember, Florida is a very big state. So
I'm just thinking
we
about like
cover a lot of
Pennsylvania,
land.
like a flight to Pennsylvania or like New York
True.
is only
Yeah.
like a couple hours, like two,
Yeah, that's
three,
true.
three tops.
Well, it's a little over 2 hours. Like the one I used to take when I had to work in Pennsylvania was a little over 2 hours. So yeah, you're right.
So how does
But
it
yeah, I
take
think it's an
two
hour and
hours?
40 minutes.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
here's what's interesting about it though. Florida is such a big state that we have two time zones. So
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going is actually Central Time Zone. So
Oh.
even though it's taking me an hour and 40 minutes, on paper, I'm leaving here at 10, right after 10 o'clock, and I'm getting there at 10:40. So it looks like it's taking 40 minutes. But
Oh,
coming
that's
back, it makes it
interesting.
worse because I'm leaving there at 6, and I'm not landing here until like 8:30.
So that's not a flight that you would sleep on.
No, no, not even a flight that I'm not even a flight that I'm going to worry about Wi-Fi on because my flight
Oh,
coming
true.
in is so late that and I'm leaving on a Sunday, and it's so late that it's like why bother? And then the flight going back is early enough in the morning that I'm not going to bother either. And it's such it's the kind of flight where by the time you hit, cruising altitude, you're going back down.
Oh, yeah, true. Hmm.
So, but that's not what we were going to talk about today. I don't know how we got started on that.
That's not what we're going to talk about today. Today, we are going to talk about jobs and applications these days and just, maybe we'll sprinkle in the job market a little bit, which I don't know much
Sure.
about, but maybe we'll get there. Maybe I'll pull out old Google, you'll pull out. You know what I found out speaking of Google the other day that I was actually it's fun to like tell kids I am older than Google.
Wow.
Did you know that? I'm older than Google. Google was born in 1998. I was born in 1991.
Wow. How about that?
How
How
about
about
that?
that? So I'm also older than Google.
You're also older than Google.
I'm also older
Yeah.
than Pac-Man machines. So,
Yeah.
and Star Wars.
They're like, wait, so like
Yeah.
when you had a question, like what did you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing.
I,
Nothing. I just
I know. Like
stayed curious. I
it
stayed
is.
curious.
No, it's what's funny. It is so strange to think about like when you didn't know something and you needed to find it out. What did you do? Right? Like,
Yeah.
by the way, we are not on topic, but that's okay.
Still off topic,
Um,
yeah.
but it's so funny to think about that because like I think of when I was a kid, like if I wanted information, I mean, like we had a set of encyclopedias. I could go look through the encyclopedias and see if I could find, but like
Hit up the
that,
library.
yeah, hit up the library. Um, but like that's one thing that like today humans in general, I would say, but like
Mhm.
kids coming up too, like
Mhm.
the availability of information when you want to find out something. I mean, just look at things like when you're looking to learn a new skill, say
It's at your fingertips.
you, yeah, you can find anything. Like you want to learn to play the piano or play guitar or play the drums, or you want to learn how to do woodworking or like anything. Like it's amazing. These are great times. That's all I'm trying to say.
I always say that even with like my middle school days and we just moved to Florida. I didn't know about humidity until I came to Florida and it did numbers on my hair. And you know how nice it would have been to be a middle schooler with a smartphone and TikTok and tips on how to do my hair and how to do my makeup and just,
Right,
cute outfit ideas. We didn't
right.
have any of that. Okay, if you saw
Yeah, even
somebody with
with the
cute hair, you
internet.
had to ask them. Yeah, even with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
internet. There just
yeah,
weren't
that's true.
even like tips and tricks like that
Yeah.
online. There weren't,
But so I feel like as a society, like for all the negative stuff about the internet, and there's a lot,
Mhm.
but one of the good things is that availability of information. It's getting even better with all the AI stuff,
Yeah.
right? But if you want to learn how to do something, like you can do it, you can learn it without having to, take a college course or anything like that,
Mhm.
and it's really like from that standpoint, I feel like humanity is has the potential to become much smarter, much
Mhm.
better at things, learn things much more quickly.
Mhm.
And then there's the negative, which is the AI side, which is going to make us all lazy, and we're not going to want to learn anything. We're just going to have AI do it for us. So
I did hear that ChatGPT is messing with it's bad for you because it's going to mess with your critical thinking.
yeah, I heard that too. I don't know. It depends on what you're using it for. It definitely depends on what you're using it for.
Well,
Side note though, apparently in one of the updates of the operating system for our Tesla, they're going to add Grok, which is
who's
the
Grok?
Grok
The
is the
football player?
AI. Yeah, no, not Gronk. Apparently, he's going to be in everyone's car. No, the it's Grok is the I almost said Gronk. Grok is the AI that Elon Musk's team developed. Basically, I think it's you can use it inside of X. So if you're on X,
Oh,
you can use it inside of there. But they're going to add that to the car. So I'm anxious to see what that's going to look like. Maybe I'll come back and report on it once it's live. But yeah, that I think that's going to be kind of neat.
yeah, very
Unless it
cool.
decides that I don't really need to go where I think I need to go and tells
That's
me go
funny.
home and just drives me back. I don't know how that's going
Yeah.
to work.
No, you don't need Starbucks today.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
going home. We have coffee at home. That's what they really should give you the option to like trick your car
yeah,
into like, don't let me go here.
yeah.
Even if I say I'm going here, don't let me go here.
Don't let me. Right, right. Yeah,
Um,
that could end badly. I don't know. On the
but
job market though.
onto the job market. So,
Yeah,
speaking of Google and all the new technologies and stuff, one thing that, obviously also has become easier with time is applying for jobs.
sure.
And, I'm no stranger to applying for new jobs and getting hired. I actually think I'm an expert. This isn't even anything to brag about, but I think I'm really good at doing interviews. I think I interview very well. And, I've never really had too much of a problem at like finding new jobs. Obviously, it takes a while sometimes anyways, just because I mean, to be honest, you're picky certain with certain like things that you want, like work from home or where you want to work or whatever, pay, tasks, companies, all that stuff. But,
Right.
you know, given all of that, I think I'm pretty good at like getting jobs and interviewing and all that stuff. But they have made interviewing, or not interviewing, applying for jobs so easy over the years. Even when you're on LinkedIn or Indeed, they have it where, you have your profile and they have just the quick little in-app easy apply.
Yep.
But I had seen a post on my LinkedIn the other day and it was by, because people always do different posts about jobs. I probably follow one of them and that's why I always see it. But it was a guy and he was talking about just the unnecessary things that they have when it comes to job applications nowadays.
Right.
Like the fact of having to re enter the same information
Oh.
that's in your resume constantly, and how much of a waste of time that is, because
Yep.
why can't I just upload my resume to you? Sometimes they have the little AI thing where, it'll take the info from your resume maybe and copy it
Right.
over or whatever. But I don't even think I need to do that. Just have somebody look at my resume. And I know
Right.
that that takes way more time. And now they like to have people, you know, set up, I guess, to the specific qualification. So they have AI go through it and sift out people who don't have certain keywords in their applications or
Right.
whatever. But I just think that's lazy.
Yeah. So I agree completely on the thing of having to and the other one that I hate of having to re-enter the information that's already on your resume again.
Mhm.
I have two frustrations though. The one is when those systems, like I have a pretty basically formatted resume. It's not,
Yeah,
I don't,
same.
you know, I back in the day, I remember at one point I thought I was really gonna. This was before, before like all the online application systems and when floppy
Mhm.
disks were still a thing. And I had my resume on a floppy
Floppy
disk and I used
disks.
to send it to people to ship because I was in IT, so it was like, oh, this will be great. They'll be like, oh, this guy really knows
Yeah,
his
let
stuff.
me really.
Stupid. It was stupid of me. But anyway, but my resume is not, it's very because I've learned that it doesn't all that doesn't matter. Making it the nicest formatted one is not, a concern.
Mhm.
So, but I've run into so many cases where those automated systems that try to scrape your resume will just get things wrong. They'll pick up like the job title for this job, but then they'll pick up the company name like and no job title on the next. It's just I've had it really like do a bad job at doing that scraping of the resume. And but the other frustration I have is like where they're listing the job on a LinkedIn or an Indeed or one of those job sites. But then when you want to apply for it, they take you to their website to sign
Oh, it's
into
so
their,
annoying. It's
yeah,
so annoying.
whatever their employment portal is, if it's Workday or I forget the other ones, but it's one of those. And then you got to go and you got to create a login on theirs. And
Oh,
sometimes
that
it'll
was
let you
one of the
just use your
things. Yep.
LinkedIn login or your Indeed login, but not always. And yeah, that kind of stuff just frustrates me because it's
That
like,
was another thing on
why are
his
you
on the
making it so
guy's
hard?
list. It was
Yeah,
all of the accounts that you have to create just just to apply for a job. How
yeah,
many different accounts you have to create on all these different websites for all these different companies
right.
just to apply for the job. The another one he had was which I totally agree on. I'm not even going to lie. There's been times where I haven't applied for a job because I'm just like it's not even worth it.
Same,
It's not even worth it for me to go
same.
through all of that. Maybe later on when I like run out of, options, maybe I'll circle back to this, but no, I'm not doing it. I'm
Yeah,
not applying to your job. I'm not creating another Workday account. I'm not going in my email to verify my
yeah,
email on here and then go back and I gotta add
yeah,
all my information in. I'm not applying to those websites. I'll go
yeah.
back to it
Which,
later again if I'm really desperate, but I don't care. I don't care
yeah,
about it that much.
but the thing is though, that also like reduces your kind of opportunity though too. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to maximize your opportunities, and I agree with you because I've done the same thing when I was looking for a job. I've gone onto a website and I'm like, this is too much to deal with right now. And or
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is, because they say, especially with the systems, the keyword systems, the way they work today, they say that you should tailor each resume to the job you're applying for. Don't have your general resume
Oh yeah.
and just apply to the job and then see if you hear back because guess what, you're not going to hear back.
Who has
But
time for all that?
that's what I've done. I've done that, and then I haven't done it too. There's been times where I've looked and I've been like, I don't feel like doing this right now. I don't feel like changing my whole resume to match this job just because I'm trying to trick the AI into,
Oh
but then
yeah.
now one of the things you do is throw your resume at ChatGPT, throw the job description or whatever AI, throw the job description in an AI and tell the AI to format your resume to, maximize the hits. Now, here's the problem is we're using AI systems to to kind of do the resume filtering.
Mhm.
Now we're using AI systems to try to trick the resume filtering into picking my resume. I just think it's a mess. I think
Just
it
to
was
get an
actually,
interview. Just to
yeah,
get an interview. Not even the
yeah,
job. Just to
yeah.
get someone to give you a chance to talk. Because there's nothing that I, over so many years, have hated more. I feel like, in what I do, I'm very knowledgeable. And
Hmm.
I'm very good at what I do, I think. And there's nothing I hate more than when you apply to a job that you're like, I have this in the bag. Of course they're going to want me. I
Yep.
have every qualification I need that they should want in a candidate. Like, not to be cocky about it, but that's just what it
No, but
is. Like,
I know what you mean. Sometimes you look at a
their
job
whole
description, you go,
description,
this is me. This is my
this is
background. This
me.
is my
This is
experience.
me. This
Yep.
is my resume. I have this much, like, I am your ideal candidate. And then you get that email. Sorry, we will not be moving forward with your
Yeah.
resume. Like,
Yeah.
what? What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
you should want me. What? What do you
yeah. Yeah.
mean?
And the frustrating thing about it is like sometimes getting past that first layer
Yeah.
is the most frustrating part because and this is no I'm not throwing shade at somebody who works in the recruiting industry or the human resources or
Mhm.
whatever industry, but in most cases those people are the ones that really know like the job and the qualifications and the type of person that's needed and all that the least, and they're the first line people who are looking at resumes. Now I know that's not the case anymore, but there's like software and all that involved now, but
Yeah.
they're kind of the first line. So it's kind of frustrating because the person that least knows what your job or my job entails are the ones that are deciding whether or not your qualify or your qualifications meet the job. And the frustrating thing with
Mhm.
that is like, and I'm sure it's the same in your field, but in my field, there can be times where there are two different terms or three different terms or five different terms that all mean the same thing. And somebody who's in software development or information technology would know that. Somebody who works in the industry would know that, oh, well, this is the same thing. He's just using a different term for it. But
Mhm.
somebody who's, a headhunter or even a software system might not know that difference. So that's where it's like when I used to interview people, I used to really like that. Well, first of all, that was like, I mean, I'm talking way back when like people actually had to like mail you a copy of their resume or
Mhm.
that or email a copy, I guess it was back then. Um, and I would just get, as a hiring manager, I would get a stack of those resumes, and I'd look through all of them to see who sounded interesting, who sounded like their experience was good.
Yeah.
Now, with it being done by software systems that may or may not be programmed correctly to recognize that, it's just a whole other ball game.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. I think even, one of the things the guy was also saying in his post was even just some of the questions that they'll ask on these applications. Again, I feel like, to the level that I am, I think that I should just be giving you, there should be no questionnaire on any of these like LinkedIn, Indeed. Again, I think they do it obviously because they want to make sure that, it's okay to have, specifications, I guess, in your job. Like, I want this person to know how to use this portal or this system or whatever. That's
Right.
fine. But this the one of the things that this guy was talking about was some of the questions that they ask. Like, some of the questions that they ask on these applications, I guess we'll call them, are questions that they should either ask in an interview, or will be asking again in an interview,
Mm,
or just those overly personal questions. Like, I'm sorry, but why are you asking my sexual orientation in a job
yeah,
application?
yeah.
Why are you
That's one I'll
asking
never understand.
so many of these questions that are
Yeah.
just weird? In a
Yeah.
job application. What do you need to know that for?
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's odd to me too because if the intent of those kind of questions, I mean, even the questions that ask your race and your gender or your gender identity,
Mhm.
like if the intent of the way the law is supposed to be is to make it that, you know, the most qualified person gets hired regardless of any of that. Why are we asking that
Mhm.
question? Like,
Yeah.
that to me, the thing should be, you know, uh, if if the idea is people are being excluded from jobs because of that, because of their race
Mhm.
or because of their gender or because of any of those other attributes, asking it on the resume or asking it, I'm sorry, on the job application should be the last thing you do. Like that
Yeah.
you should never do that. That because if the goal is to make it that that's not a consideration, that you're not considering that negatively, you know, that somebody's not, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to hire that person because they're this or that." You shouldn't then, you shouldn't do the opposite either. You shouldn't say, "I'm going to hire that person because of this or that."
I think
That
even
I
the
agree completely.
the sexual orientation one is weird to me just because like obviously if I'm a woman or whatever, you're going to see that when we have an interview. You're going to eventually
Right.
see that. But
Right. Of
the
course.
sexual
Oh.
orientation, so even if I click like I don't want to answer this, you're going to
Right.
see when
Right.
you interview
Right.
me.
Right.
But the sexual orientation one is so weird to me because I just feel like that's something that not even my coworkers usually
Right.
would know. Like
Right.
if like that's not anything that I'm even outspoken about with my
Right.
coworkers, my
Nor,
personal life
I
most
mean,
of the
nor,
time. Eventually
and
it might come up, but
yeah,
it's just to have that
but
as
nor
one of the things you
it
want to
also
know.
shouldn't be with respect to your work because, it's not
Exactly.
really something that, regardless, should be something that's part of your workday. But
My job application should only be about my, if I have the qualifications you're needing for this
right,
certain job. That's it.
right,
That's all you
right.
should want to know. You shouldn't want to know
Yep.
anything else. Anything else, like that guy was saying in that post, should be spoken about in the interview. Which
Right.
also brings me to another rant. Jobs, once you get that interview, that have you go through like a 5-step interview process.
Oh, that's
Why?
very no, it's very common today. I don't know why.
Why?
Honestly, I don't. I
That's so
here's my
weird.
theory on it. Here's my theory on it. If there's anybody who watches this who's like in the industry, maybe they can answer it like intelligently. My theory on it
Right.
is that it's more about um, personality at some point and having you meet with as many people that are currently
Right.
working in the company as you can to see if all of them feel that your personality is going to be a good fit with the culture at the company. Because um, like that's probably the biggest factor I would say in that kind of thing is, you know, everybody's got the skills, right? But if you don't have a personality that works well with the other people who are currently in the company, you're probably not going to, you're not going to add as much to the company as somebody say who does, personality wise, like mesh with all the people who are there. I think that's my guess as to it. I think it's excessive, but
Yeah.
that's my theory on why so many companies are doing that. Because like to be interviewing with people who aren't going to be your direct manager
Yes,
or
that's what I'm talking about.
even, and I don't know if you've had this. I think maybe you have. I think Brandon did in the last process he went through, and I know I have. Like basically interviewing with people all the way up the chain to like the
Yeah,
top
like
person there.
CFO. Why do I need to talk to
Yeah,
the CFO? I'm never going to speak to him or her ever again.
right.
Why? And that's honestly how I feel like it should go. I always say I should be a CEO. I've always said it. I think I would be a great CEO. I think I would be a great boss. But how I would run my company is um I would, okay, have them talk to HR first, sure. Like, let's not, a lot of the times that I've spoken to the HR person in the beginning, it's more like, okay, tell me about a little bit about your job experience. I just want to make sure like it matches up. Even though I'm HR and I already just saw your resume and I can see if it matched
Right.
up, let me hear it from your
Right.
mouth. And
Right.
then they also have always been like, okay, I just want to, just to not waste our time, does, you know, these hours we usually operate, does this work for you? And does this pay range work for you?
Right. Right.
Just so that you don't get in and you're like, oh, that's too low. Usually it's too
Right.
low.
Right. Which, but
Um,
I think the pay thing should be something they publish with the job description, because otherwise you're not even wasting your time applying to something that's like way below where you
well, and
need to
there's some
be.
jobs that some jobs don't even list it, period.
Oh,
They
I
don't list it,
know. I
period.
know. I would say probably more don't than do.
Yeah. So that's usually like what HR's purpose is, just to make sure that, oh, okay, they seem nice, they seem, how we
Yeah,
kind
they
of
can
want our
speak
candidate to be.
professionally, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So yeah, let's screen them through HR. That's step one. And then after that, they will move on to who will be their manager. And that's it. And
Yeah.
that's it. The only person that should be interviewing me after HR is the person that's going to be directly working with me. And maybe
So,
like a team lead, or I don't know, someone like that who's also kind of just to get a second opinion, have a second opinion
yep,
in there. But there should be nobody interviewing me that I'm not interacting with on the daily, that's not
100%.
doing a job that I do on the daily.
Yep.
There should just there's no reason for it, because what are you even talking to me for, respectfully?
Right. Right.
Like you're
Right.
not
And
you
like
can't even answer
I've been,
half of my questions that I'm going to have about the job, probably, if we're being
right.
honest.
Yeah, and I've been places where we did kind of like team interviews
Mhm.
where my boss and one of the other guys that I worked with and me all met with the person that we were, or the people actually it was that we were interviewing.
Yeah.
And I think those worked well because we were all in there. We all knew the job. We all, knew the day-to-day stuff, knew the questions to ask. And then
Mhm.
after with the person left, we all had a chance to talk about what they said and that kind of thing to see who we
Right.
thought, was a good fit. I think those are good. Those are helpful. But I
Mhm.
agree, like the whole like 6-step interview process is kind of overkill. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
overkill.
Yeah. Like what, I had this one interview before. I think I told you about it. He was so rude. Probably doesn't
Oh
watch,
God.
listen to this podcast because he
Yeah.
was older and probably just above that.
Yeah.
But he was so mean. I've never had like a mean interview person, because normally I
Wow.
go into them, I'm a good interviewer. Usually I go into them very bubbly and nice and all that stuff. I don't give
Yeah.
you a reason to be mean to me. So when somebody's mean to me when I'm being nice to you, you're just a weirdo, okay? You're a
I
weirdo. You probably hate your life. So he was just a grumpy old man, and he asked me something about the company. And I had looked up a little bit about it, but I'm in an interview. You work here, you tell me about the company. Even though I'm sure there's some people who would disagree and be like, do your research beforehand, which I have learned since, I have grown since, but I only looked up a little bit about it, like if you want me to know specific things about your company, you tell me. Like, this is my interview. You tell me
right.
about your interview, I'll tell you about myself and my experience. That's how
Right.
it should go, okay? I'm not gonna, if I'm going on a date with someone, I'm not gonna scrub your whole life and be like, yeah, so I saw this online about you. Like, no, I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
right.
you know,
Right. I
tell
mean
me, tell me
I
about
mean I
yourself.
I guess I can kind of understand that, but I also don't think it's something that, if somebody doesn't do it, that you're rude to. Like I kind of understand somebody saying, "Oh, I'm interviewing with this company. Let me look into them a little bit and see what I can find out about them." But but not like it definitely it shouldn't be an expectation,
He asked
in the
me a
interview
spec
process.
no, he asked me a specific question about the company and I didn't know it. It was like I don't even remember what the company was honestly, but just for the example purpose, let's say it's a flooring company, okay? And I know it's a flooring company or blinds or it was something like that because it had it in like even the company name.
Right.
So he's like, "Do you know what we do?" I said, "Oh yeah, you guys do, again, for example, flooring." Okay, but do you know all the kinds of flooring we do and stuff like that? Like, ask me a
Oh my
specific
gosh.
company question like that. And obviously, I don't know. No, I didn't look that deep. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
honest. I didn't look that deep.
Right.
So I forget how I responded, but I basically said no.
Yeah.
And like, oh, actually, I think I tried to like BS the answer a little bit. But he knew I didn't know, and
Yeah.
he's like, he goes, "So you're telling me you didn't research our company before meeting with me today?" I was like, "No, I did. I just, don't know that question." And he just, I knew event at that point, it was
Wow.
like, oh yeah, he's never calling me back. He did not think I
That's
was
funny.
funny at all. He was just like,
Wow. Hey, I have a bad interview story for you. Um, so before we moved to Florida the first time, I actually had interviewed
mm-hmm,
for a job in Richmond, Virginia. It was a furniture store company. I forget the name of it, but
mm-hmm,
so they brought us down to Richmond. I think they had like put us up in a hotel overnight. Um, and then I had the interview the next morning, and then after that we were going back home, and
mm-hmm,
um, so I went into the place for the interview, and I think like when we went there, and I don't know why we would have done this, but like your mom and you guys were all waiting in the car, and um, it had been like a little while, like that the interview had been, and it got to a point
mm-hmm,
where they were like, okay, well, we need you to talk to this other person, but they're not going to be ready for about an hour, so you can just kind of sit here and wait.
mm-hmm,
And I forget if your mom had texted me or what it was, or maybe I had gone out to the car to talk to her, and she was like, okay, well, is there any way you can just like run us back to the hotel because we're sitting here in the car and there's like nothing to do, and so, and she didn't know, the way to get back there because, none of us were familiar with the area, and that,
and
so
GPS was not a thing back then.
no, it wasn't. So, you had the printed out MapQuest instructions. So, so I did
Hey,
that.
can
I
I
took you
use y'all's
guys
printer
back.
real quick?
Yeah. I took you guys back, and then I came back, and apparently like that hour was quicker than they said. So the person had been looking for me and I just wasn't there. And I went, up to the desk and said, hey, I had to, run back to the hotel for something, but, I was supposed to be, speaking to this person. And they were like, oh yeah, they actually said the interviewing is done. So, for the day, they're not going to be able to meet with you. So, and at that point I knew like, oh, this company's not hiring me. But the worst part of it
One.
was, right? So there were expenses like the mileage expense and all that, which just was an odd thing because like normally when I've done that kind of interviewing, it's like the company pays for all the travel expenses up front because I don't work for you
Mm-hmm.
yet. At least back then they did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I had to spend weeks trying to get them to reimburse me like my mileage expense and all that
What?
for the drive down there and all. Yeah, that was and don't get me wrong, like to some extent, I was younger then. That was sort of unprofessional for me to just like sneak out and do that. I'm sure if I explained the situation that you guys had come and rather than have you wait, I was going to run you back, but I didn't do that. So, I was just like, I can sneak out and get back. And yeah, that was bad. Uh, and then I had another one where it was actually when with at the same time when we were actually interviewing down here in Orlando, and the guy who was the hiring manager, great guy, like he and I got along really well. Like I was like, man, I could definitely work for this guy. We were on the same page on a lot of things and that. So I came down for the interview. I interviewed with 2 or 3 people. Everything went really well, like really well. Well, then the last interview was with the HR person. And the HR person asked me like some really like those really just odd questions. Like, um, I think it was, uh, what would, if we asked the people you work with now about you, what would they say?
I hate
Which
those
I mean,
questions.
yeah, I wasn't that experienced at
They would say
interviewing at that
I'm
point.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean I guess that's what I should have said, and I just kind of stumbled. Was like, I I don't know what they'd say. That's you'd have to ask them what they'd say because
Yeah,
I don't
I
know what
hate
they would
those
say.
questions.
And that answer basically killed me getting the job offer, and that always
Crazy.
frustrated me because I'm like the guy who would have been my boss. We got along great. I know he wanted to hire me. Again, the other people that I'd interviewed with that were like, I think they were in accounting and that kind of thing because I would have been working with them too. They everything went really well with them, and that one, portion of the interview where it really shouldn't have impacted, I don't think, like just killed it, and
Yeah,
that always just drove me crazy.
that's funny. Yeah, no, I do hate those. I hate those kind of interview questions. What would your boss say about you right now? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, call them up. I'm sure they would say good
yeah.
things,
Let's call him.
hopefully.
Let's call him.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
like when
I
it
don't
says,
like.
may we contact your current employer." Uh, yeah, why not?
Yeah, but then
you
it's
know.
also like, if I put no, are you judging me? Like, what if I put yes?
Well, I
Because
mean,
I
most
think
people, I
they're.
think they expect you to put no if it's your current employer. If it's a previous
Mhm.
employer, they expect, like, if it's a previous employer and you say no, that's gonna be a red flag.
Yeah, and it's like, no, I just don't want them
It's
to know
because,
I'm looking for a
it's
job
because
again.
it's because I lit my, I lit my desk on fire the day that I left. Okay,
And I don't want you guys
and
to find out about
I
it.
don't want you guys to find out. Yeah. So.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the biggest thing, and I think I've told you this before, like that I've learned through my long and storied career, is um, like the company you work for. Work for a company that you like the people, that you like what you're doing,
Mhm.
that you like, just the atmosphere, all that. But um, never confuse liking where you are and what you do with loyalty,
Yeah.
because one thing I've learned, and I think you've learned this too a few times, is the
Yes.
day that the situation with the company changes and you're no longer, you're no longer like valuable, or they don't consider you valuable anymore. You
Mhm.
know, they're not going to be concerned with loyalty, and that's
Yeah,
not
for
like
sure.
meant as a dig at anybody or anything like that. But I've experienced it too many times where I've had jobs with companies that I loved. I mean, I've been lucky that I've been with a lot of companies like that, but I've also run into
Mhm.
a lot of circumstances where those companies then got sold. And generally,
Yep.
when a company gets sold, it's either not the same environment, or you don't know what the environment is, because when they buy a company, they're generally buying it for the customers and the products, and not necessarily for the employees.
Yeah. Well, and I think that even goes back to like, the attachment aspect of it because I think sometimes, you can get really comfortable with the job and you can love who you work with, you can love what you do, but
Oh yeah.
anything can happen, especially with big companies and small companies, really. You never
Yep.
know what kind of switch up is going to happen where they,
Yep.
something happens and really that could change the whole course of your whole routine, everything you got
Yep.
going on. I feel like once you
Yep.
start really loving a job, that's when it really could
Yeah,
turn upside
right.
down and
That's when the
anything can
rug gets pulled
happen.
out. Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
that's why I think it's important to always be like in touch with the job market. Whether
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you should always be looking for a job and applying, but you should definitely always be in touch with it so you know where things are. Because then if you are in that
Mhm.
circumstance where things change, if you're sort of keeping an eye on the job market, you'll know, oh, okay, well, I thought I saw that this company was hiring, or that kind of thing. You at least have some touch with the reality of where things are.
Yeah, no,
So,
exactly. I agree.
all right.
I agree.
All right. Well, that was a good conversation, I think. Not our funniest one, but ours are
Not our
always
funniest
funny,
one.
so it doesn't even matter. I'm sure
Yeah,
there'll be some good clips out of this.
I think we have funny parts for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, check us out again Thursday for game time. I'm sure we'll be doing something fun this
We
week.
have our faves this week
Yeah, that was supposed
because
to be
we
last
missed them
week.
last week. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. I have a good one too.
yeah, yeah. So
Stay
stay tuned for
tuned.
stay tuned for
All
that.
right. Bye, guys.
Bye everyone.